And it's so lovely to have so many of you here with us for what promises to be a special event as we look back on an incredible 2022 Formula One season and look ahead to where Formula One is heading in 2023. Now, as everyone here will probably know, Formula One has experienced extraordinary growth over recent years, especially here in the US. Yeah, make some noise for that. That's a big deal. Yeah, something we're very excited about. And we're so excited that for the first time ever this year, the US will be hosting 3 Formula One races. Again, I'm loving this crowd participation, keep it coming. And we will have Las Vegas joining the calendar in November. That's the biggest cheer, that's saying something. I hope you're all going to be there. I hope that's what that translates to. Now, we can't talk about the increase in popularity of Formula One without mentioning Drive to Survive and its impact on fan engagement. It has just been absolutely groundbreaking for our sport. And today, I'm delighted that we're going to be holding a special panel discussion to dig into all of the things that I've just mentioned and more. And then we will be having an exclusive pre-screening of episode 1 of season 5 of Drive to Survive. I cannot wait. I absolutely cannot wait to see it. I haven't seen it yet myself, so I'm in it with you guys. We're in for a very special evening, but first, let's remind ourselves of all of the action that our sport brings. Of Formula One, Paul Martin, co-founder of Box to Box Films, and last but of course not least, Kate Jackson, Vice President of Production at ESPN. Thank you so much for joining us. Lovely to have you all here. Brandon, I'm going to come to you first, okay? So, don't look so scared. Formula One over recent years, especially here in the US. Like I was just saying, 3 races this year in the US. Why is the US so important to Formula One? And on top of that, how do we continue to grow our sport here in the US?
We actually have 2 now. I'm the only American in Formula One right now, so it's a pleasure to be here. And I just have a quick story before I answer that question. For any of you New Yorkers, I drove into Queens today, A. B, I got a parking spot right out front. George Costanza, thank you very much. I'm never losing. No, look, I think the growth we've had in this market is phenomenal, and it's primarily because not only of the product we have, but also the partners that we have had help bring it to life. 1 in 2 fans of Formula One just joined us in the last 3 years. It's incredible. It's about a 35% growth, I think, year to year on ESPN, at least from last year to this year. It is almost 30% youth, people under 35. High propensity of females. This is all coming into the sport, which is, I lived 10 years in Europe, which I thought was this dodgy, sort of stodgy European thing. And it's incredible how energized the sport has become, right? I mean, it really has, particularly in a market that has a vast motorsports history with both us in and out, as well as other motorsports. And it's just incredible to see the energy that's behind the sport today. The US market has become our #1 market for social and engagement across all of our platforms and all of our teams and all of our drivers. And it's simply right now a big engine for us across the business. And that's why we're doubling down and bringing Vegas to life.
Paul, let's bring you in there because it's the perfect opportunity. Drive to Survive, we have season 5 launching on the 24th of Feb on Netflix. What has been the biggest shift from your perspective in Drive to Survive from season 1 to season 5 across both team side and drivers and also the fans?
I think the first difference is I can't remember where we showed the first season of Drive to Survive as a premiere. So to be here in New York...
I don't know if we premiered it at all. We
did. I think it sort of snuck out.
It was in my bedroom.
And I remember, I hope there's no one from Netflix in here, but I remember having kind of early conversations with Netflix, and I think the audience that they thought was going to come and watch it was very, very different from, the audience that it's kind of shown up. As you guys have said, a lot of females, young generation, and I think, part part of the reason that Drive to Survive happened was, and I was, Sean Bratches and Ian were, really the godfathers of this show, and it was really to, people always say, was there any kind of master plan? We didn't. We just came in and tried to produce it. But I think that, Ian and Sean had this foresight that if we can get this sport out there and in front of people in a different way to what had been going on, then the audience is there. And I think that that's what Drive to Survive has kind of captured. I don't think, I think it's reignited people's passion for the sport, and then it has brought this whole new audience, to it as well, which has just been phenomenal. And it's, everywhere you go, it's become the blue ribbon show in this space. And, we as a production company have gone on to make other shows, but it's, everyone still references this show as the gold standard, and it is.
It really is. And just following on from that quickly, Paul, as you mentioned, other sports are now following in the footsteps of Formula One, coming up with their own docu-series. Why do you think other sports are so keen to now get involved? Are they just trying to mimic it, or is this a whole new wave of content creation that we're seeing?
I think it's two things. I think yes, they're trying to get that Drive to Survive effect, whatever that really means. But also I think they've realised that a lot of sports, had become, they sort of shied away from putting the athletes front and centre. And I think when we came in to make Drive to Survive, in the early conversations that we had with Ian and the team, we were just like, you just have to put the drivers back at the centre of this sport and get them out from under the helmet and make people fall in love with Kevin Magnussen as much as they're in love with Lewis Hamilton or Seb at the time. And I think that's what other sports have realised, that the athletes are really the heroes, and if you can put them at the heart of it, and if you can make audiences kind of fall in love with them, then they'll fall in love with the wider sport as well. And I think that is probably the biggest effect, that, sure, they're all chasing Drive to Survive, but they've realised that actually you have to put the athletes right back at the heart of the sport.
It's the people side, that is what keeps people coming back. Brandon, talking of the people, this year we have Logan Sargent joining the grid. An American, you can do a round of applause for your local driver, that's fine. How do you feel? Are you excited to see him joining the F1 grid with Williams?
Noticed I get the ask the American
Yes.
question.
Absolutely, you've started me.
It's probably coming to me right after you. So.
Look, I think in general, yes, we are. Obviously, he's a young driver. He's proven himself a bit in F2, F3. He's coming into a team that unfortunately was at the bottom last year, so he's got a lot of work to do. Hopes are high, but I think like anything in the US, we like champions, we like winners. So we're gonna hope that he scores points as things go. He's a Miami kid, I think, so that'll be well when we have the race in Miami. It'll almost be a bit of a homecoming for him. But we have a lot of new drivers this year. In fact, we have 3 or 4 really young guys coming in that I think will add a whole new flavor to the mix. And we've got I think almost all these drivers are like somehow between age 22 and 26, which is another reason why they're connecting better with the audience. But look, I think he'll do very, very well in terms of establishing himself with Williams, and then hopefully he can score some points. And I think if he scores some points, that could light a bit of a fire here in the US, and then our friends like at ESPN can do great stories about his background,
Yes,
and where
sir.
he came from and how he grew up, and particularly when he's in Miami. So hopes are high.
Good to hear. Kate, I am going to come to you next. Do you think...
As the other American.
Exactly. Do you think that having an American driver on the grid will draw more of the audience into ESPN and other platforms?
Yeah, I mean, it can't hurt, right? I mean, I think if we knew what drew people, it would be really good for our business. Like, I think that it's, viewership is so unpredictable, but I think the American audience has really resonated with, the big stars. Like, they love Hamilton and Checo and Max, and I think that having someone who carries the American flag can only help. I think you're right. Like, we want winners. Like, that's sort of the American way. But I think we're really happy to have, in such an elite group of humans, like, it's so great to have someone who's carrying the American flag. And so I think at the start of the season, and certainly in Miami, Austin, and Vegas, we'll be cheering.
I think the last time we had an American driver was roughly 2015, something like that. So it's been a while.
We're due.
Yeah, definitely. No pressure on him then.
Poor kid.
I can't wait
He's
to see
getting
him.
paid.
Yeah.
So not actually that poor? Yeah.
I don't feel so.
That's
poor.
okay.
Announcement of Ford coming back, and we heard about Audi not long ago as well. Why is our sport so appealing to them now?
Look, I think anytime you're a sport that's at the pinnacle of the industry, your hope is that you can put such a great product out there and you can have such a vision for that product that manufacturers like those will want to be a part of it. And someone like Ford has got an incredibly rich history in Formula One already. We were here with them and Red Bull a few weeks ago, and Jim Farley and the team there are incredibly excited about being back. And have really big plans and big vision for what their Red Bull partnership will look like. Audi, on the other hand, is such a technical and German brand that it's almost like they have to be in this. If you want to be the type of cars they make, feel like they need to. It really fits well into sort of what their brand stands for, and they're coming in full boat as Audi in 26. And so, and there may be more. There may be more. So. I think for us, having those type of manufacturers in the paddock, making engines, doing things that really now compete, just shows that what Formula One can bring to the table, the vision we have for where we're going to be going with our engines and the new regulations in 26, what that's going to look like in the focus on sustainability, and how that technology can then flow back into the manufacturers for their consumer business. I think just shows the way this whole thing is cyclical and how there's this sort of flywheel around it. So. We're incredibly excited about Ford and really excited about Audi coming in super strong in 26. So stay tuned. We have a lot of cool marketing plans for both of them coming up in the next 2 years.
Such an exciting time to be in our sport. It really is. Thank you all so much for joining us here for the panel discussion.
Thank you everyone for coming, by the way.
Thank you.